Hello, everybody. The Warriors pulled out a close game in Houston for their first road win of the year, featuring a rejuvenated Klay. He said that he'd been letting the internet trolls get to him, and now he was refocused and trying to be himself, and himself was on fire tonight. Steph calls the play, his thumb out. The thumb set of plays. Here Draymond's looking back, and Steph is going to say a little hand signal saying go to the far side of the court. And just that little bit is enough to clear up the play. That's 10 years of teamwork for you. So the thumb series usually starts off with an action on one wing, and then the ball swings over to the other side where there's a pin down. Draymond's rushing over to try to set this pin down for Klay. Klay's defender is going to bust out following Klay, but Jabari Smith is not going to trust, and he's going to step up to try to intercept Klay when he comes around this screen. So now Jabari's stuck way too high. Klay's defender is trailing right behind him. Draymond immediately slips. Nice little pass from Klay. Total collapse. Draymond is drawing 4 defenders. So we've got this guy who's the right rotation. We've got Jalen Green who's just coming in for fear of missing out. Draymond's original defender following him. And then I like this guy. He's not remotely involved in this contest at the basket, but he's going to give a nice jump of sympathy. Draymond dishes it over to Andrew Wiggins. Nice recovery by Jalen Green to contest Wiggins' shot. But unfortunately, the rest of the Houston defense is in total disarray. Wiggins' drive and kick. Kevin Porter Jr. over here thinks, I got to run out and recover to the 2 best shooters of all time. Unfortunately, Garuba also thinks, I got to rotate. So now 2 of them are rotating to Steph Curry. Steph picks up this very awkward pass and shovels it to Klay. Warriors go to this stagger screen for Steph to come around, and that's going to force Garuba over here to switch. And the Rockets willingly switch everything because Garuba is a good defender. Instead of Steph saying, all right, I'm just going to ISO you, Steph immediately turns, and the Warriors set up for a simple split cut. The idea is that if you got a big man guarding you, they're just not going to be as good at navigating these kind of off-ball screens, flare screens, cross screens. The entry into Draymond, Looney setting the screen, Steph coming around. Steph tries to fake and go backdoor on Garuba, but Garuba turns around really nicely, and then Steph throws another fake at him with a jab step. Steph jumps out, and finally this fake gets him. Garuba is leaning backwards this way. Steph going to have an open 3. Draymond knows this, so he whips this pass to Steph, and unfortunately Draymond pegs this Houston defender in the head. That ball goes flying off of his head and into the air, and it's just a really weird 50-50 ball. Okay, here Steph just calls for a simple pick to try to force Garuba to switch on to him. Jalen Green does try to fight his way around the screen, but he sees that Garuba is switching to Steph, and he does this kind of funny 360, like, whoop, excuse me. Garuba showing some pretty good defense, but how do you defend against this kind of step back? Okay, some better discipline from Houston on this play. Garuba wants to get Kevin Porter Jr. ISO'd on Kevon Looney, who still with 5 fouls. Garuba signaled Porter with his hand, come here. And Garuba goes for the screen to force Klay to follow him and Looney to switch over. But Klay does not play that game. He just pushes his way through the screen so that Looney does not have to switch. Garuba sets another screen. And then just to make sure that Klay gets nailed by the screen, Garuba will put both arms around Klay and just wrap him up. Aww. Sometimes the basketball play is the friends we make along the way. So finally, Kevon Looney does have to step up to contest Kevin Porter Jr. Kevin Porter Jr. drives, and then he even jumps into Kevon Looney. He could have easily drawn a foul here. Wild scramble, and then the last touch by a Rocket here. Doink. So Steph and Draymond, they remembered what happened on the last play, a stagger screen with Draymond and Looney. And last play, Jalen Green fought through the screen and then ended up peeling back off of Steph when Garuba switched to Steph. This time, Warriors anticipate this and counter it. Steph goes around, Green follows him hard. Garuba's hanging in here to switch, just like last time. Jabari Smith is just, I guess, containing in space. But this time, Draymond just cuts fast. Steph throws this real moonshot of a pass, but it does get to Draymond. Again, the weak side low man rotates to stop Draymond's roll. But this time, Eric Gordon, he has to guard Klay Thompson and Andrew Wiggins. on the weak side here. That is really rough. Draymond sees Klay in the corner, so Gordon is anticipating this pass, and he busts his butt to try to stop it. But behind his back, Klay is pointing, saying, no, don't pass it to me, pass it to Andrew Wiggins. And Wiggins does this beautiful cut as Gordon leaves to cover Klay. And that is a beautiful find by Draymond. Draymond sees all with his Draydar. And Wiggins comes in for the enormous dunk, which didn't quite go into the basket, which is too bad, but that's life. This is basically the deciding play of the game. And it's going to be what I call the Klay play. And if you don't know what the Klay play is, here's a Klay play at the end of the third quarter. The Klay play is always, there's a down screen here for a shooter to come up and set a screen for Steph that gets insta-ghosted. And then in the meantime, the screener, in this case Klay, will come over here and get a pin-in screen. Poole's coming up to screen and he insta-ghosts it. Klay gets his pin down, and this is pure. Okay, this is the second version of the Klay play, where you still have this pin down and someone's going to come up and set this ghost screen. But the real shooter, Klay, is sitting in this corner. So Poole took that down screen, is coming up to ghost the screen. In the meantime, Klay is going to run down the baseline and get a stagger screen along the way. But Jordan ghosts this screen so nicely that Steph thinks, hey, Jordan's actually open. Maybe I'll just pass it to Jordan. But Poole, showing some maturity, decides that Klay is looking pretty open, because look at how Houston is defending this. Eric Gordon was following Klay, and then he raises his hand and he's yelling, switch, switch, I need someone to switch. So he wants Garuba over here to switch out, meet Klay on the other side of the screen. Poole sends it back to Steph. Gordon is having to navigate too many things. He's never going to get to Klay in time. Draymond decides to make his screen more effective by grabbing Garuba's arms, or maybe he's being grabbed. There's a lot of grabbing going on right there. Klay totally open. Pretty good hustle to get to him, but not today. Okay, last play, and he plays Steph really well here. Steph goes to the behind the back dribble, and Gordon just stays with him move for move until Steph finally has to, he steps back. And I mean, what are you going to say about this? It's an off balance, fading away, and he just launches this thing almost vertically. We need a protractor to appreciate this shot here. This is a very large angle here, and I don't really have a lot to say that isn't said by the reaction of this Rockets coach. Yeah, that was basically my reaction too. Steph was pretty chuffed that he hit that wild shot, and he goes running into the night-night celebration. That's a flying night-night. And he's so chuffed that he shows a certain lack of discipline, and he spends the rest of this play just dancing instead of guarding anybody. Well, I mean, they're up 9 with 30 seconds left. Okay, let's do a celebration audit for Klay's 3 on the previous play. We've got Jermichael Green is talking crazy stuff to Klay, probably explain to him that he's a really bad man. We have the war of the different kinds of threes. You have Moses Moody flashing the OK 3, but Ty Jerome is flashing this kind of 3 with the thumb. It's okay, we accept all kinds of threes around here, but Ty is showing this 3 gun on his right hand, and he's showing this Fleming left hand rule 3 over here. That's unusual for one person to have 2 different 3s on their hands. Kind of multiple personalities vibe here. Jonathan Kuminga looking very pleased and bemused in a slightly French way. Oh, Anthony Lamb actually is flashing 3s here. He's got 3 fingers here, and he's got 3 fingers here. And he's turned the double 3s into a plaintive cry for help and puzzlement, saying, I cannot understand how this man is so good at shooting the round ball. That is creative work. Good job.